Hey, what's up guys, welcome to my Flutter tutorials, and in this video I'll show you how you can achieve something which many of you have asked me on Facebook and Twitter, that how to handle the on back pressed event on Android, especially on Android, because on Android phones you have that navigation button which is for like a back button, then a home button, and then a recent button. So in that scenario, sometimes you might have seen that use case where you want your user to choose whether he really wants to suppose exit the application or if he want to do a particular thing. So in that case, how you can do that particular thing in Flutter. So also, like if you are using a form, you have some data which the user has to fill, but mistakenly he presses the back button and he lost all the data which he has filled. So in that case, you want to deal with it, and you want to show something like do you really want to do this. So for that use case we have something in Flutter. So this is not going to be a very long video, so because we have a widget for that particular task in Flutter. So as you can see on the screen, we have a that simple as you have seen, that counter application, and I have just removed the particular the comments and the boilerplate code, not the boilerplate, just the comments. Okay, so now we have this counter here, but now if I will press this back button on this Android simulator emulator, then what will happen, it will just close the app, but I don't want to do that. So what you have to do to handle that, you have to go to your parent widget in your widget tree. So the parent widget, this is scaffold. I will wrap it with a new widget, and this widget is WillPopScope. Okay, so this WillPopScope has a callback, so we need to define that. So that is on WillPop. Okay, and it will accept a future with a boolean value. Okay, so what it will do, it will check for your it will find your you can say enclosing model route, and then it will do whatever you want to. Like if you will return a false, then it won't do anything, and if you return it true, then it will do what it can do. Okay, so here we can handle some event. Let's say we want to say on back pressed. Okay, so let's say on when we press the back button, we want to show an alert saying do you really want to exit the app, yes or no. So then depending on that we can return some value. Okay, so now we need to make this method. So here we can say future, and we will pass this bool for boolean, and then we can define this method. And yeah, so now here we need to return something. So we can directly say show dialog. Okay, we have this functionality, show dialog, and here we can pass something called a context. Okay, so we already have a context. Then it takes a builder or child. So child is, I guess, deprecated, so we will use the builder. Here we also need the context, and then we can do something here. So we will be showing an alert dialog here. Okay, and then we will have a title. So in the title we can simply ask with the text that do you really want to exit the app, or whatever you want to write, you can write it here. Okay, and then we have this content. If you want to fill some content, then probably you can do it, or I guess you can leave it because it is optional. Now we need some actions as well, so we can use some flat buttons. If you want to use text, you can use that with the gesture detector, whatever you like. Okay, so we have a flat button, let's say with a child, with a text. We can say yes. Okay, and let's first say no. Okay, not yes. Okay, no, and then it has a this on pressed event, and if it is saying no, then what you want to do. So if he's saying no, you will just close that particular pop-up. Okay, and you can say something like navigator, okay, dot pop, and you can also pass the variable false, which means you don't want to you don't want to do anything, like you don't want to exit the application as of now, because you have pressed no. So it will give this false to this on will pop, and then after finding this false, it will say I don't have to do anything. If it is true, then it will do what it can do, like it will close the app or it will go to its previous route or whatever it is it will do. Okay, so this is our first flat button. Apart from that, we can have one more. So I'm just copying pasting that particular code, and we can say yes, and now we will just pass this result as true. Okay, so now if I will run this app, I have just hot reloaded it. So now if I will press this back button, you can see we have a nice pop-up. Do you really want to exit the app? No or yes? So let me just press no, and you can see my pop-up is closed and I have passed false, so nothing actually happened, and this is what we want to achieve. Now let's press the yes and let's see what happens, and you can see our app is closed now. Okay, so this is how you can achieve this particular thing using this WillPopScope. So suppose you have multiple screens as well, then also you can utilize this particular widget. And suppose you have a form, let's say here in the body, rather than this column, let me just remove this column. Let's say we have a form. Okay, so the good thing about this form widget is that you already have this on will pop callback here. So you don't have, in cases of form, you don't have to explicitly wrap it with the new widget, which is the form, this will pop scope. So it already has this callback on will pop, and you can implement the same thing here, which is the on back press. Okay, so this is I know this is not very much details about all these things, but this is a very you can say a common practice, and many people do it, and it can be any kind of alert or anything, because no, when you are going into B2C, so you want your user to use the app, if they mistakenly closes it, you don't want to do that. Okay, so I know this was a very short video, but this is what I wanted to explain because many people asked it. So that's it about this video. If you enjoyed, then press the like button and also subscribe to the channel if you're not a subscriber, and press the bell icon if you want to get the future updates. That's it. Bye bye, take care, and I'll see you in the next video.